welcome. I'm going to go straight into it. And because I want to start with something a little controversial, and that's that you're not addicted to food. You're not broken, you're not weak, you're not greedy, and you're not failing because you just can't control yourself around food. You're eating the way you are because your body is trying to save you. The truth, you're starving and stressed out, and that's a recipe for survival mode eating. Now, I've heard of survival mode in terms of like work, surviving till the holiday comes up, and that flight or fight mode, but you probably didn't relate it to how you eat, and that is a key factor. So I want to bust the myth because many women over 40 feel their eating is out of control, but in most cases it's biological, stress driven, not addiction. And how do you know, Julie? How do you know? Well, I'm Julie from Revive Fitness, and that's what I do. I help women over 40 lose weight, get fitter, get healthier, feel in control again, whatever their goals are, whatever that means for them, that's what I help them achieve. And it's not just based on their experiences, it's based on my own experience when I was size 18 plus myself, and learning about the body and how the body operates, how it works, mind and body, around food and why it's doing what it's doing. So today you're going to learn about why you've been craving the food that you have, why diets keep backfiring, and the exact steps to break the starve stress cycle. Now, I will also add that this is patterns that I've seen across the clients I've worked for. They're obviously not bespoke to you. So there's some things you might go, oh, absolutely, Julie, that's me. And there's other things you might be like, nah, I don't resonate with that at all. That's okay. This is where we have commonalities in the body and the way that we do things. It's how medical science is applied, but within that there's nuances because our bodies are all so beautifully unique. So what works for one person might not work for the other, which is why you can get frustrated if you're like, my client's been doing this, my friend's been doing this and lost weight, but I've not lost weight. How come we're doing the same thing? That's where our bodies are beautifully unique, and what works for one person might not work for the other. The same goes for medical treatments, right? So that's why I always do one-to-one bespoke stuff with clients, because the difference between home and what works for them versus what works for someone else is completely different, and that's how they get results. And that's why I do one-to-one with clients. So I just want to caveat that these are, like I say, patterns amongst clients, amongst myself, learnings that I've had through my own experiences in the years and years of learning that I have done. Okay, so let's get kicked off on why you feel addicted to food. Number one, you're probably under eating even when you think you're not. Now, I say this because a lot of women come to me and they're like, oh, I wasn't eating a lot of food and I got fed up, and I'm like, what the hell? You're probably going to tell me I'm eating too much. And I think it's born out of a few things. It's born out of, one, the culture of being told calorie in, calorie out. It's as simple as that, calorie in, calorie out. Well, it's not, okay? And the reason it's not is because you could, be within a calorie deficit and eat pizza all day long. Yes, you might lose weight, but actually you're not going to be able to sustain that. You're not going to be very healthy if you're just eating pizza all day. What about all your other macronutrients, all the nutrition your body needs? The same goes for, you can eat broccoli all day and still be in a calorie deficit, but you're not going to feel great on it, okay? So it's not as simple as calories in, calories out. Another reason is years of dieting can make your body expect scarcity, okay? So that kind of piece of like holding back on your body. So it's like, right, that hunter-gatherer, where is the next meal coming from? And it doesn't know. So it's that whole thing about that scarcity. And then as a result of scarcity, then your body will hold on to fat because it's like, oh, don't know, we might need to keep this. And then what happens is when you lower your calories, so, 800 fad diets, 800 calorie fad diets. I mean, God, no one's ever happy on those, right? 800 calorie fad diets, you basically drop your fullness hormone and you increase your hunger hormone. So immediately you're already working against yourself, because the bit that's telling you full is dropping and the bit that's telling you hungry is increasing, which makes sense if you're just trying to live off toddler portions. It's not even toddlers are about 1200. So yeah, if you're living off a kiddie's portions, then of course it's going to impact your hunger cues, because your body's like, feed me, feed me. And I want to give you some examples throughout of this so you can maybe relate to them in a practical sense. So a client of mine, Sarah, is a primary school teacher. She is 52, turned 52 recently. And Sarah came to me convinced she was a sugar addict. She was like, I eat good all day, low calorie snacks. It was like low calorie, but I'd say also low quality. So it was like skinny bars. And then by 8 p.m., she was knee deep in biscuits. And it's like, she would beat herself up for that, right? Because if you think about it, I know it's like you open a biscuit, you have one, then you have two, then you have half a packet of biscuits. And being only before you know it, the whole packet's gone, right? We've all been there many times. And so she thought she was broken because she was still knowing this and going and buying the biscuits. But when I actually look back at her food, so I've got pictures, I was going to show you some, but I don't want to end up showing you pictures of clients' faces or details because I like to keep their privacy. But when we look at the food logs, the clients send me pictures. They also track on MyFitnessPal. Again, it's whatever works for them. I could see she was barely hitting the 1,200 calories. So hardly any portion, just barely hitting 1,200 calories. And all the years, what have I now? I'm 7, 8 years of doing this. There's only once, I think, where I had a client just shy of 1,200 calories, and that's because they were really height-wise really small. So none of my clients are on 1,200 calories. So she was basically hardly reaching the 1,200. There was hardly any protein. And so what we did is we added more satisfying meals earlier in the day. So we put protein across breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And within 2 weeks, her nighttime cravings ended. And she said to me that she doesn't have to think about food all the time. It's like her brain can actually think about some other stuff, other things that she has to think about, other things she has to do. It's like it freed up the capacity. So satisfying her hunger by getting more nutrient-dense foods through the protein, the fruit and veg, just freed up. Not only does it mean that she's lost weight, but it also freed up her thinking, so she wasn't always thinking about food. And the sugar cravings weren't even a thing. Okay, so it's that thing, it's freeing up the space for other things too. And I think it just shows that you're not addicted to the sugar. There's a lot of that going around now, but actually you've got to look at what's happening across your whole day, your whole week around food. And that really is the key to what's driving your behaviors and what your body's craving. Right, number 2 is hormonal shifts after 40 change hunger signals. And you're like, no, really, Julie? Tell someone to know. So yeah, perimenopause and menopause impact appetite. So it's a mixture. This is where you will have some days where nothing satisfies you. You might be having your protein, your veg, your fruit. Nothing satisfies you, your homemade protein balls, whatever it might be, and you're still like hungry. And it's okay because you know that it's down to the hormones, okay? It's not even great, it's just where you're at. And then you might find other days you're just not bothered by food at all. And I'll say to clients on those days, don't force feed yourself. Yeah, get your fruit and get your veg, maybe smaller portions for the day. It's okay. It's okay to not always feel like, oh, I'm not that bothered by food. Yeah, you don't always have to have your free square meals and your snacks or whatever you do. And it's about tuning into your body and going what feels good, what doesn't. And then obviously with hormone shifts, we have a difference in fat storage. Some people call it the cloak of fat, where it's kind of like the back fat on the sides and down round and obviously in the middle. But they call it the cloak of fat on the back and then also around the tummy as well. And fat storage tends to layer around our reproductive system. It's kind of like one of those things where it wants to protect it, despite the fact we're not going to be using it, which is always helpful Mother Nature. But it's also because obviously as our reproductive system starts to slow down or stop altogether, that was using up calories. So when you have your monthly period, when you go from perimenopause, menopause, your body's using energy in order to do those processes in the body. So when that stops, often we're still eating the same amount of calories, but we've not got those processes within our body to use up those calories. So that can make the difference too. And the third one around addiction to food is the blood sugar roller coaster. Hot topic. We just mentioned about Sarah and sugar addiction, and it wasn't actually sugar addiction. But what can happen with the blood sugar roller coaster is that you skip breakfast or you eat a low quality carb snack, let's say like these Nutella, what do they call them? Nutella B, like baguette things, just basically wafer thing full of Nutella or biscuits, okay? So you eat low quality carb heavy snacks and it leads to spikes and crashes, spikes and crashes. And I call it basically high energy food, the things that are going to give you a burst of energy quickly digestive food, but it's also going to give you low. And these things are also designed to make you crave them, so you got to keep eating them in order to keep the high, right? So it's actually to avoid the sugar low, you got to keep eating the sugar. So that can lead to, and if you skip breakfast, it can lead to sweet cravings, especially in the afternoon. Okay, so to summarize, why you feel addicted, I can't say evicted, why you feel addicted to food is you're under eating, even when you think you're not. Hormonal shifts after 40, changing hunger signals, changing the fat storage, and also that blood sugar roller coaster of skipping breakfast and then going for the low quality, high, quick energy snacks. All right, I'm going to grab a drink of water. Next up, team, is the hidden stress hunger cycle. Yes, the stress hunger cycle. So we mentioned chronic stress being very much work related. And again, you've got your flight, your fight, and your freeze. So your freeze mode, in case you've not heard this one before, you know when you might read about as a situation happening out in the world and someone didn't help us, they just stood. The, they stood by and just let that thing happen and didn't get involved. It could be that they were frozen. There's so much fear going on that they couldn't run, they couldn't get involved, they just froze on the spot. So that's the freeze. So it's the fight, right, fight. I'm going to start again. Flight, right? I can't even say it anymore. Or freeze, okay? You get the idea, you get the idea. So basically your stress hormones push you towards the high calorie comfort foods when you're in chronic stress. So you're looking to stress relieve, okay? So if you're stuck in that fight mode, it's that whole thing about where can I get this release of tension from? And I know certainly for me it's crisps, right? I love like crunching on crisps, other thing. And now with crisps, you also get flavor enhancers. So it encourages you to eat more of that thing. So again, we're on a catch-22 here. Crunching down, getting that stress relief, crunching on the crisps. And then at the same time, you've got the flavor enhancers that's giving you that dopamine hit of going, eat more, eat more. And it's a vicious cycle, that one, I tell you. So the stress hormones push you towards those sorts of foods, the chocolate, the biscuits, the crisps, okay? So when I was working with Linda, she is 47, a single mum of 3, and she had a very stressful job with teenage kids. And with that stress, she couldn't stay later at night to finish. So if there was a meeting, she had to wrap something up. She couldn't really stay later at night. So what tended to happen is she would end up working over lunch, or she'd have meetings at lunch. So she'd end up skipping lunch, telling herself she was too busy. Been there, done that too. And then end up inhaling like one of the big grab bags of crisps before dinner. And she thought she lacked discipline. And it wasn't that she lacked discipline. It was basically she was starving, absolutely starving, because she skipped lunch. She hadn't had anything since breakfast. Even that was just grabbing some toast on the go to get out the door. And lunch was full of meetings or something was happening, and then she was hustling to try and get out so she'd be back home for the kids. So she wasn't eating for that whole period. So again, that whole like craving the high calorie, quick fix foods, the grab bag of crisps is going to be the go-to, right? And even now, when you look at the cost of a single bag of crisps, it's a rip-off, right? And the grab ones are like more cost effective. And let's be honest, we're not going to share those with anyone because share sizes, we're not sharing them with anyone. So yeah, so you end up starving, eating like you've never been fed. I'm sure I've been there, I've certainly been there. And then you're trying to think about what to make for dinner, and you can't get that clarity of thought until you feed the starvation mode that you're in. But like I say, Linda just felt like she was just being greedy. She lacked discipline to not do that. So what we did was actually add a full lunch for her. So it was something she could prep at night, so she had for the next day she could just take it out of the fridge, off she goes. And she's got something there that she can eat at her desk. So it's not awkward, it doesn't need to be heated up. It doesn't involve any cooking in the morning. It was there ready to go. And that meant she had protein, she had veg, she was actually having something to eat. And then our strategy was, how do you go from the adrenaline of work to home? Rather than just jumping in the car and go, right, off you go. Some people find driving relaxing. Linda, she didn't mind it, but she doesn't find it relaxing. So we just get her to park the car a little further away so that then she had a bit of breathing space to go from the rush of work to calm her nervous system down to get to the car. And by doing that, those two things, by adding a lunch that had protein, healthy fats, fibre in it, and having that 5 minutes extra just out of the office to breathe before she hit the home life, meant she was no longer stress eating in the evenings. So when she got home, she wasn't like grab bag of crisps in her face, she was less stress eating in the evening. It wasn't a thing for her. Don't get me wrong, obviously sometimes it pops up and you go, right, well, what happened then? What happened? And because sometimes you get caught out and you don't have your lunch prepped, but it's all a good lesson as to why you do the lunch prep, because you know what's going to happen if you don't. And then a second one I cover off was poor sleep magnifies cravings. Oh my goodness, I talk about this a lot with clients. So our brain is the hungriest organ. So it's the hungriest organ. What I mean by that, when you're tired, your brain's like, you've got a choice. You can either feed me or go to sleep. And typically we can't go to sleep, right? So again, we're going to seek those high calorie, low quality foods because your brain's like, feed me, give me something. And the brain is carb hungry. So when you're sleep deprived, it's going to raise your hunger hormones. It's going to make you want the low quality foods, and that's all you're going to think about, and they're going to seem more tempting. So really tune into that. So your patterns when you're tired and the foods that you crave and the things you want to go for quick, high calorie, low quality foods and are surrounded by them. Okay, we're surrounded by them. And the next one is restriction. Restriction and stress leads to binge-like behavior. And it's not something I think we often apply to ourselves, but we all do it. We do. I've done it as well myself. And that's where you might be good all day, and then you just end up binging on that things like we spoke about the biscuits earlier. And it could be that you're good all week, and I see this quite a lot as people restrict themselves all week, and then the weekend hits and it is full on party, everything just going mad. So it's something I used to know someone who would just like get a block of cheese and just eat the block of cheese without even cutting it up, because they restricted their calories so much all through the week, being healthy, being good, that when it came to having what they wanted at the weekend, they went all in on it and basically undid all the good work. So being good all day or good all week and then breaking it is a classic kind of rebound effect of when you're restricting yourself to that point that it becomes a stress hunger cycle. So within the stress hunger cycle, to recap, you've got chronic stress that's keeping your body in survival mode. As a result, the hormones push you towards high calorie, low quality foods. That can be the bag crisps, it could be the biscuits. Then layer on top of that poor sleep, which is going to magnify that even more because your brain's like, feed me, which again is leading to the same foods. And then if you're trying to restrict yourself whilst craving these foods, being sleep deprived, being stressed out, and then you're restricting yourself, it is a cycle of a cycle of hell, let's be honest. Cycle of hell of everything making you want those foods because everything's going against you, okay? But the good news is that you can fix these things, okay? They are within our control to fix, and that's what I work with clients on. All right, another sip of water, and then we're going to hit why willpower won't save you. Woo. Right. Willpower. We only have so much willpower. So throughout the day, you kind of wake up. Think of it as like waking up like your mobile phone battery, but you can't charge it. Okay. So you wake up and potentially you've forgotten your willpower charge at home because you can't recharge it. And you've just got so much willpower for the day, and you might be walking to work and on the bus there's an advert for KFC, something you're not even bothered about. And then there's a biscuit advert, and then there's crisps advert, and there's sweets, and you walk into a shop and you're just surrounded by it, right? Or you go in for a coffee and there's all these cakes and pastries on the counter. There's only so much that you can resist those things on a daily basis before it drains throughout the day. And it might be you can get to office and there's like sweets and chocolate and biscuits on the desk. So there's only so much willpower before your willpower barrier runs out, okay? So this is another one not to blame yourself, because we are surrounded by it and there's only so much you can do around it. And this is why willpower alone won't save you, okay? Because your brain is always going to prioritize survival cues over discipline. So if you're being restricting yourself, you're sleep deprived, you're stressed, your body's in survival mode, it's going to go high calorie, give me that. High calorie, give me that. You can't fight biology long term, so you've got to work with it. So the different ways of doing that, it's really around thinking about, right, okay, I've got so much willpower. I'm going to go to the coffee shop. I'm going to get tempted by the cakes. Actually, do I need the coffee? Am I bothered about the coffee? Is it a habit? One of my clients, Natalie, she had one of the Costa cards, and I was like, what are you gonna Costa for? Because it's low quality. I think she had a chicken baguette. I was like, there's hardly any chicken on that baguette in a Costa. Like, it's like low quality food. And I was like, nothing good ever came out of Costa. I found it recently they're actually run by Coke, which explains a lot. And it's like, or is it Starbucks? Nothing is Costa. But it's low quality food. And then you're surrounded by temptation. And I said, let's do a little experiment, a week without Costa, and see how you go. And she doesn't even miss it. She's not missed it one jot, okay? So Natalie, temptation-wise, is taking out the whole of Costa cakes and all the things that are going on. So already she's on a winner around that. And then when you get to the office and there's things like loads of sweets and chocolates, have a piece of fruit with you, right? By having a piece of fruit, eat the fruit before you have the chocolate, before you have the Haribo, whatever it may be. And then one other thing that Natalie done with the Haribo, because she's got teenage kids too, is she'll only eat the ones she likes. So if there's a packet of Haribo, she'll have like the foam hearts. So rather than eating the whole packet of Haribos, she eats the ones she really likes, and then that's her done. Yeah, so she's still having something that she enjoys, but she's not restricting herself by not having it at all, but she's found a way to like portion control that. So it's that thing about, give yourself a break. There's only so much willpower. And it's not giving yourself a free for all, just go all in and go, oh, my willpower's used up, give me the chippy, give me the crisp, give me the burgers, whatever it is. It's looking at what is using your willpower, and then we can work on what is the roadmap to help you around the things that are depleting your willpower, and what are the things where you just go, okay, I'm going to have that thing. And then we can work on what that roadmap is and the toolkit around it. But yeah, willpower won't save you, okay? We don't live in a world where you can, maybe back in the days before all the cake shops blew up everywhere and the coffee shops, but certainly not in the modern day world. All right, team. So I want to give you some real solutions that work. And I say these are proven solutions that I've done with clients, and they are things, like I say, that are typical things that work for many clients. Again, there might be some nuances around what would work for you. If you're like, oh, I'm not sure if that worked with me, or how can I make that work for me, drop me a note and we can chat it through, no problem. All right, so number one, eat regularly. Okay, so what I mean by that is balanced meals every 3 to 4 hours. So obviously you've got your three main meals of the day, right? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I always say, like, have these when it works for you. Everyone's a little bit different. So why do you have to have lunch at 12 or 1? Typically, if you're in a workplace and that's what you're stuck to, then so be it. But like, I would wake up and have breakfast typically at 6, which means I'd be starving by 12 or 1. So I'd have my lunch at 10 or 11. And that worked for me, and I was fine, and I was full till dinner. So that's what I mean about eating regularly and eating when it works for you. So people say every 3 to 4 hours might be slightly different for you. Again, make it work for you. It might be different depending on your hunger levels that day. But eating regularly just helps stave off getting to that point of being starving, where you're eating your meal and then you're like still looking for something thereafter, because you've got, for me, definitely when I get to the starvation point, I'll eat my meal and then still be looking for something afterwards because I've left it too late to eat. And it's not that I'm not going to bother eating, it's just I've got to be aware of those patterns and habits when I don't eat regularly every 3 to 4 hours. And then within those meals, you want to have your protein, your fiber, your healthy fats to keep your blood sugar stable. Challenge with a lot of modern food is they've taken the fiber out. The reason for that is twofold. One, because it helps with the shelf life, the food not going off. And two, if they keep you full, then you won't want to eat more of it, right? You won't come back and have more of it. So one, it helps you overconsume the food, and two, it helps with the shelf life of the product. So you want to make sure across all your meals, you want protein, fiber, healthy fats to keep the sugar blood stable. And if you're hungry, knock yourself out and eat as much fruit and veg as you like. And of course, the 20%, if you fancy the cookie, if you fancy the sweets that are on the desk, have them, but just be aware of what you're having and the mindfulness. And I think if you find yourself overindulging, there's a reason for it, okay? There is a reason for it, and it's not about beating yourself up. It's not about guilt. It's looking at why. So it's like Anita, who thought she was eating less because she wanted to lose weight. So she'd skip breakfast, she'd have a light lunch, as you call it, and then be starving at 3 p.m. So that whole like eat less to lose weight. And then what we looked at was, okay, she hits the 3 p.m., she craves the sugar, she's starving, then she ends up overeating. So what's happening there when she's having a good breakfast? Well, basically, again, it came back to her lunch. So we had to restructure her meals to include the protein at breakfast and lunch, and then she started losing weight without feeling starving. And I remember saying she didn't feel like she could lose, like she never thought it was possible to lose weight without feeling hungry all the time. And I think this is a narrative that I'm really keen to address and change. That whole piece around that you have to be struggling, you have to be starving in order to lose weight. Like, losing weight doesn't have to be a struggle, it doesn't have to be misery, it doesn't have to mean you're starving all the time. That's not the case at all. It's just looking at what you're doing, what's the makeup of your meals, so that your body's feeling fueled for energy, for performance, as well as weight loss and healthy eating. It all comes together. It all comes together. All right, so that was number one. Eat regularly, 3 to 4 hours, say, and then have protein, fiber, healthy fats across your meals. And then when it comes to stress, because we've spoken a bit about stress today, manage stress without food. I think for many, this will be the biggest challenge. I know certainly for me, it's been something that I've always been aware of, but it's interesting how much it does play into your life. So managing stress without food. So what I mean, so my go-to, I've mentioned the grab bags of crisps. The grab bags of crisps that now all have flavor enhancer in them, so you're going to eat even more. So you're combating the stress, but then you're getting that hypothalamus. It's like, oh, eat more, which is the way most of these things are designed. It's like, is it Krispy Kreme donuts? They have their ring donut, and it's the perfect blend of sugar, fat, and salt to make people to be able to eat more of them, okay? You shouldn't be able to, but they've manufactured it so you can. So everything now in the food market is manufactured so you eat more of it. Think about it, the more you eat, the more money they make, okay? That's what it comes down to. Now, we can talk about whether that's, the values of the people who do that, we can talk about that, but that's a different subject. But ultimately, that is what's happening. That's what's been happening for years and years. So how do we go against this marketing that is formed to make us want to eat more and make that signal in our body want to crave more? Well, it comes to how do we manage stress without food. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do this, and it really is finding about the thing for you. So you could have like a decompression daily. What I mean by that is you can either do like a calm meditation. I've got calm on my phone. You get 10 minutes guided. It's like 5 minutes is a bit of a alone breathing, and then the second part's guided. So 10-minute meditation, stretching, going outside, getting in nature for a walk, journaling, just writing down what's your stresses, where you're at. Nobody needs to read it. People get a little freaked out about this. Nobody needs to read it. It's purely for you. Burn it on the barbecue, on the fire, whatever afterwards. But just writing out what's going on in your head can just free up so much space, so much stress. And it's also thinking about your inner voice. Your inner voice. What is it you're saying to yourself when you're stressed? Like, why have you done this? Why did you agree to it? You did it. What are the things that are going on? And then take a little step back and think, if this was a friend speaking to herself that way, what would you say to them? What would you say to them? It can also help to do that with journaling. Write down everything and then respond as a friend, okay? Respond as a friend with compassionate kindness to yourself. And looking at what is it that's stressing you out, okay? And often we can downplay our emotions, thinking, oh, that person's got it worse than me, that person. Your stress is valid to you as an individual and what you're going through. There will always be someone better off. There will always be someone worse off. That is just a fact of life. But the truth is, your emotions, what you're feeling, what you're going through is valid to you. So it's finding a way in which to deal with that that doesn't involve food. And typically it could be talking to somebody, writing it down, taking that breathing space, stretching, working out, walking. Find that alternative for you. And if you find yourself reaching for the biscuits or the crisps, just take a little moment to just pause and go, do I want this? Sometimes you will, okay, and that's okay. Sometimes you just want that thing, that's fine. But for me with crisps, I've been like, I really miss these. I'm eating them for the crunch, that stress relief to tell myself it's a treat, but it's taking me away from where I want to be with my health, with my fitness. So it's that whole thing, go, what's taking me towards my goal and what's taking me away? And why am I using, what's the symptom around why I'm wanting the crisp? What am I stressed about? What can I change? What can I control? And what do I need to let go of? Okay, so stress is a whole other big topic, but I just honestly want to give you some stuff to think about and work on that can help you. So think about building a non-food kind of dopamine source, whether it be through music, connection, art, just picking up a pencil, paintbrush, without any agenda, just seeing where it takes you and creating something. Just something that makes you feel good. It might even be doing a bit of housework. I know it sounds awful, but garden. But it might be just that to do, that stress. I feel it. I feel the stress of like the house needing done, right? All the housework building up, and just that stress of whizzing the hoover around can make you feel so much better. So if you feel like so much stuff done in the house before you reach the crisps, the biscuits, or whatever your thing is, run the hoover around and see if that helps to relieve off that to-do list, okay? So think about what you can do to manage stress without food, and that is quite a big challenge, and is often the one that we work longest on with clients because there's quite a lot of unwrapping in there, but it can absolutely be done. I am proof of that. As in my clients. And the third one is about supporting your hormone balance. Now, what I mean by that is, I just mentioned your macronutrients, your micronutrients. So your macronutrients are like your protein, your fats, your carbs. Your micronutrients is all your vitamins and minerals. And things you can do to support your hormones around that is things like flaxseed, things like chia seed, chia, still debating how we say that one. But think about the nutrients you get into your diet, eating the rainbow, the different colors, all the things that's going to support your immune system and your hormone health. And also stress management. Stress management is a big one for hormone health too, especially mental health when you go through perimenopause, menopause. The things we just touched on around stress in general will not only help with the food, comfort eating, but also help overall. Okay, so think about stress management. And then strength training. So strength training really helps us maintain a healthy weight. It's also proven to have benefits around mental health too. So you want to aim for 2 or 3 30-minute strength training a week. It can be body weight, doesn't have to be weights. If you're starting off body weight, then you can take it to weights. And it's also good to get the heart rate up. And people think, oh, I hate cardio. But your heart is a muscle too. And heart illness or diseases is number one killer of women. Nobody's talking about it above cancer, above breast cancer. So get the heart rate up too to help with long life. Okay, and it's also, I think the report came out this week saying it can really help with against dementia as well, about women getting dementia if they exercise from midlife onwards and they get the heart rate up once for 30 minutes. Doesn't mean you have to go running. It could be a power walk, it could be badminton, whatever it is you enjoy on the spin bike at your own pace, whatever getting the heart rate up means for you. And that really helps just to look after your hormones. And the next one we spoke about is prioritizing sleep. So having a consistent bedtime, low light, no screens. And the more and more I keep learning about sleep, the more I become, I am becoming a sleep professional is what we're calling it these days. Sleep professional, trying to get to bed for 9:30 because I used to be able to run off 7 hours sleep, sometimes 5 hours. I've got a puppy, well, he's 16 months now. Sometimes 5 hours and I'll feel okay, but now I know, don't get me wrong, you have the impact of that with the hunger and so forth. But now I can't, I wake up after 7 hours and I'm not feeling refreshed. Now, perimenopause, I need a good 8 hours. So I'm really focusing on becoming a sleep professional because not only does it help with the food cravings, it also helps with generally weight maintenance, fat loss, because it's where your body decides what to keep, what to get rid of in your body, waste products. So sleep is really essential for your weight too. So sleep is definitely one you want to prioritize. It affects your mood, it affects your behaviors around food, around stress, and everything in life. So sleep is just like become a sleep professional. So find a consistent bedtime for you and how many hours it is you need in order to wake up feeling refreshed rather than still waking up tired. And the final one, ditch the all or nothing dieting. So try to think about, rather than restriction, nutrition addition. What I mean by this is addition would be adding more fruit in, adding more veg in, adding more protein in. So think about adding things instead of taking things away, because by adding things, you'll be full, your body will have the nutrients it's craving, and you'll feel satisfied and fuller for longer, rather than feeling like you're always taking away the good stuff. And I say the good stuff in terms of that 20% of stuff you enjoy. So to summarize there, real solutions that work is eat enough regularly, manage stress without food, support your hormone balance through your mix of nutrients, eating a rainbow, prioritize sleep, and ditch the all enough dieting and look at adding on more fruit, adding more veg, adding in more sleep, adding in more stress management. So those sorts of things. And you're like, oh my God, Julie, you're talking about doing those additions. Not really, because you will naturally be undoing other things by adding those things in. All right, let's close this off then. Close this off. So to recap, you are not addicted to food. You're experiencing a normal biological response to being underfed and overstressed. Your cravings aren't a flaw, they're a signal, okay? Our body is constantly working in homeostasis to keep us in balance, okay? And that's your body's signal to, it's always giving us clues. It's always giving us clues. What is the body trying to tell you about what it needs, what's working for it, and what isn't working for it? And just to give you some final inspiration, I remember Claire, she was, 20 years ago dieting, Claire. She's just graduated recently. I call it graduate when my guys leave me. And she was just exhausted from feeling guilty about food. And feeling like she would, have one thing and that'd be it. It'd be ruined. That's it. Can't be healthy. Can't lose weight. I had the biscuits. I had the crisps. That's it. Ruined. Okay, all over. So we focused on fueling her body and lowering her stress load about what she could control, what she couldn't control, and letting go of those things and moving in a way she enjoyed. Right, this is key. It's not about punishing yourself with workouts. It's moving in a way that's going to take you towards your goals, but also what you enjoy. And over the 3 months, she lost 10 pounds, but most importantly, she told me she finally feels in control again. And again, that's a theme I see with clients about. They feel like they know what they need to do now to be in control of their weight. They can go to London for a weekend, yes, the weight will shoot up, but they know what they need to do in order to get it back down to a healthy weight without it being about restrictions, just the types of foods they need to eat that work for their body, that give them energy, make them feel good. And energy is always the one I'd say people underestimate. Even after a week of working with me, they feel like they've got so much more energy, the brain fog's cleared. And I think it's really powerful because what I help them do is tune into the foods that work with them, foods that don't work for them, and how we build that into their lifestyle. whatever that means for them. So yeah, if you're tired of fighting with food and your own body, please know that you don't have to keep fighting your body. You can lose weight, you can enjoy life, you can enjoy food. And if you need my help, I'm here to help. My coaching program is designed specifically for women over 40 who want to lose weight, who want to be healthier, feel calmer, reclaim their energy without the fads or the guilt. So if you do want to chat about that, then drop me a note and we can discuss what that means for you. And I am going to be doing these every 2 weeks. So come join me. I'll have different themes every couple of weeks. I will be posting them so you can come, and I'll invite you guys. And hashtag on the replay, if you got the replay, drop me a note, let me know what you learned, what you took away, or what one thing you're going to focus on off the back of this. Always start with one thing and then you can build on top of it. Thank you for joining me. It's Julie from Revive Fitness, and I shall catch you guys later.